Vivian von Karlsruhe is the only daughter of the prestigious Duke of Karlsruhe. When she was 7, she was betrothed to Alex, a boy who had fled the bloody uprising. Alex Leavenkreutz, the 5th prince, born from a mistress, maybe because she felt sorry for him, crying like a puppy after being expelled from the palace. She wanted to protect him, to do something so that he wouldn't cry. The emperor fell, and the empire was engulfed in bloodshed. The civil war between the princes raged for 5 years. Even under the protection of her family, Alex trembled with fear every day. Any bad news or sound could frighten him. Vivian always tried to be there for him. She supported him because she knew how much he needed it. At some point, she made one decision for Alex and told her father that she wanted to become Empress. He told her that the Empress's throne was a lifeboat in a raging storm and asked how sure she was that she needed it. To which she replied that it was the only way for Alex. He really wanted to dissuade her. The man hinted that maybe she shouldn't go that far, but at the same time, he left the choice up to her. Then she was sure that if she had such an opportunity, she should take advantage of it. Vivian very quickly sowed discord among the prince's rivals. The nobles gathered their forces to provide a safe position for Alex, secretly organized groups of traders and guilds, collected funds and necessary information, and so, the 5th prince, the furthest from the throne, still became the emperor, as she planned. Thanks to her efforts, the guy took his place and received the throne. And of course, she became his empress, which she was very proud of. 5 years later, they were already thinking about having a child in their family, but problems arose with this. Alex started to calm her down at night. He says that since it doesn't work out, maybe she shouldn't rush and wait for the right time. Although he himself does not know how much longer he will be able to withstand the pressure from the ministers. In fact, there is something more serious when they were chasing status. They did not take into account one thing. They used to be friends, but now they had to get married. But there are no feelings between them, and never worse. People have questions about why they still don't have a child. To solve the problem, the girl already suggested that he take a mistress so that she would give birth to an heir. But everything turned out to be not so simple. She is very sorry that she forced him to be a woman he never loved. But otherwise, he would never have become emperor. It turns out that, having gotten what they wanted, they got other problems. Sometime later, they managed to have a child. The first prince, Aaron, was born. It was a real miracle for them, but Aaron's mother is not Vivian. The girl feels terrible. They kind of created a family. But this is not how she imagined the future. One might think that this is where all the problems end, but everything only just began. As soon as the girl began to babysit the child, she noticed that her husband began to disappear and see the child's mother more and more often. Every day they begin to see each other less and less. She hasn't seen or heard from him for a whole week. This is the very day when her patience ran out and she wanted to at least see him. As it may sound, those two are not far away, literally in the next room, and sometimes she even hears them through the wall. Vivian was about to stop them, but she heard one of them ask how long we would live like this. The guy replied that he could of course make her an empress, but that would not be very respectful to his wife. Stella didn't just start talking about this, she already started to be indignant that he promised her this. In response, the guy asks her to wait a little. After all, the Duke will soon arrive in the capital. The girl heard every word. She can't believe he did this to her. He's right now discussing with Stella how they'll change places. It was very painful to hear, but she did not waste a second and decided to immediately tell her father about it. It remains to be hoped that it is not too late, and she will be able to stop them. She wrote a letter to her father and was about to send it, but at that moment she learned of his death. She felt completely empty inside. She realized that she was alone. And in the morning, when her husband began to calm her down, it became disgusting to hear his voice. She hit him with all her strength for the first time, so that he would feel at least a drop of what she had been feeling all this time. After everything was fine and she had never done this before, Alex doesn't understand what's wrong with her. He pretends to be a victim, and she told him straight out that he doesn't have to pretend because she heard their conversation with Stella yesterday. Then she couldn't hold back. Started crying and asked why he was doing this to her, after what she and her father had done for him. It would have been possible to at least part peacefully, but without such a betrayal that she would never forgive him. Suddenly, he began to tell that from the first meeting he began to hate her father. Alex felt like he was constantly in debt to him. He felt like a debtor. And for a man, this is very humiliating. She already had thoughts that he might be involved in this, but she is not talking about it yet. His tone changed very quickly. She really doesn't like that smirk, and now Vivian understands what her father warned her about. From that second, She already understood for sure that this relationship had no future. A new family is being born right before her eyes, and she herself came up with all this and suggested it to him. The girl has never made such mistakes before. She has no idea what will happen next, but it is possible that very soon they will want to get rid of her and will not even hide it. Some time passed. Vivian. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't want to see anyone. She wanted to relax, and her assistant brought something that could help her with this. The girl wanted to drink some tea, but she didn't refuse this option either. She didn't even need any snacks. She didn't care about anything right now. She didn't think about anything. Drank a couple of glasses and didn't notice how a woman was standing to the side and watching her very carefully. Then her eyes started to close. She didn't notice how she fell asleep, and it was clearly not from fatigue. She could sit for a very long time. So she lay at the table all night, but she couldn't even imagine what kind of environment she would wake up in the morning. She woke up on the bed. They started pumping on her. What is she doing here? At the same time, someone even changed her clothes and she was already wearing pajamas. There are some guys standing nearby. They start to get dressed quickly, and there are other people in the room who start to kick them out. Among them, she noticed her husband. He began to accuse her of bringing lovers to her place, although he himself was no different. The girl immediately realized that all this was set up by one of them. She began to ask to be heard, but his assistants were already grabbing her by the hands and starting to lead her out of the room. Alex ordered to decide Vivian's title of Empress for this act, and to lock her in the Western Tower. While she was already locked up, Stella came to her. Probably she wanted to laugh and say a few unpleasant words. She even started to act as if she had already become an empress, but this had not happened yet. She says that she came to thank her for everything, because now her life finally shines with bright colors. She admitted that she was in love with Alex even before they got married, but no one knew about it. Stella was so worried all this time. She was worried that they would be able to give birth to an heir. And then she would have no chance of getting back together with Alex, but fate itself was on her side and she is very happy about it. Then she started hinting that all these problems with Vivian's pregnancy were not accidental, and then the girl couldn't believe her eyes. In front of her is a cruel man who dared not only to prevent her from getting pregnant, but also turned her husband against her. And also, she told you that your lovers were actors. It's all part of a plan that she will soon fully implement. Vivian asked her how she could live peacefully after all this, to which the girl replied that she could live perfectly well. Now no one and nothing stood in her way of a happy relationship in life. The longer they talked, the bigger the smile was on Stella's face. She wished Vivian all the best and calmly left. They say that when a person's life ends, the gods prepare the next one for him. If she is not granted the next life, she will find them, tear them apart 1,000 times and take revenge as she should because of you and her father. She doesn't need this kind of life anymore. The girl has lost her father, child, husband, and will soon lose her title. Nothing is keeping her here anymore. Vivian thought that she could die, but some forces brought her back to life. Apparently, it was too early for her to leave. The first time she turned back time, she couldn't even remember. It took dozens of tries before she began to enjoy the way his face contorted in fear. And then she became faster until Zed appeared. She was not expecting him at all. One thing she knows for sure, if the commander of the Imperial Knights is here, then this is the end. Someone, but definitely not that guy, ordered to protect Her Majesty the Empress. The girl hadn't heard that for a long time. These people are very similar to the Knights of the Blue Wolf. Zed started saying that the girl was the one who destroyed His Majesty the Emperor, and he should do the same to her. Her father started to stand up for her. He replied that his daughter would not do something like that without a reason. Apparently, it was he who ordered her to stand up for her. Her father, the Duke of Karlsruhe, is known as a cold and calculating man, but there is one thing he believes in, that his daughter Vivian is always right, that she is almost a saint of a person, even when right now he sees her with a ball and in bloodstains. He came up to her, hugged her tenderly, and she told him that her husband had betrayed her. He had cheated on her with Stella, that's why she had done this to him. Then, she told him everything else that she learned from her mistress and cried very hard because it was even painful to talk about it. While she tells how she was betrayed, other people think that she acted too cruelly, and only her father is on her side. Vivian is very grateful to him. He always believes her, always helps, like a real loving father. The girl left the most important thing for later. She said that she heard how those two wanted to get rid of him too, so as not to feel their debt to him. The man imagines how much his daughter did not expect that everything would turn out like this, even though he warned her about it. He still did not say a word. It would be unnecessary now. Since the guy can still be saved, He tells her that this man must pay her for every drop of suffering. A quick death would be too great a gift for him, so he suggests doing the opposite. They started to stop him, shouting that he couldn't do that, but he ordered everyone to shut up and asked if they had really stopped to defend the one who had betrayed his daughter. Vivian told everyone that it was their business, and only they knew better what to do in this situation. When someone sells someone, it tears you apart, and if you don't take revenge, it will remain a stone on your soul for the rest of your life. At first, she said that she completely agreed with him, but then she came up to him and finished him off completely. Apparently, she just couldn't hold back. Literally, a moment later, she opens her eyes and realizes that it's as if she's again in some past. She heard her husband's voice. I started looking around, saw people whom I had seen dead just a couple of minutes ago, and began to understand everything. Judging by Stella's face, you'd think she's a bride, and they're wearing the same dress. Meanwhile, Alex came up to her and told her how much he loved her, but it sounded so disgusting that she almost hit him. She feels disgusted to look at that face. He said exactly the same words to Stella and will probably repeat them more than once. She herself became interested in what would come of it. She wouldn't be able to love him either, but she would try to take revenge. It seems to her that even now, this man is thinking about lying in bed with some other girl, and this girl is probably floating in the air, dreaming of that day when she will become an empress. It took them 5 years to take everything from her, but now they won't succeed. Vivian will stop them from doing it. As soon as they got engaged, it was time to kiss. As is customary, she did it by force, although she really didn't want to. Now they will have a double game. The strongest will win. And all that remains is to hope that justice is on her side. Everything happened exactly like the first time. Everyone started congratulating them, rejoicing. But now, they both know that this will not lead to anything good. Naturally, Stella couldn't help but approach them. This is still the moment when the guy doesn't really know her, and she's already making plans for him. The girl congratulated them on such a wonderful and bright day, wished them all the best, and in fact she wishes them the same, only the other way around. Stella should have already gone somewhere, but the girl starts asking for the bride's bouquet, and she does it as if there was nothing wrong with it. Vivian only now understands how naive she was. She didn't see and notice a lot. This time she answered her that rules are rules and she can't give the bride's bouquet to other girls. After that, other acquaintances started to approach. Unlike some, they were happy for her sincerely and from the heart. At some point, Vivian accidentally looked at her husband and saw that girl holding his hand as if she was his bride. He didn't say anything to her on his own, as if subconsciously he wasn't against it and Vivian didn't like it right away. She immediately intervened, asked what was going on. The guy immediately became embarrassed. He didn't say anything, and Stella replied that the girl had misunderstood everything. She just wanted to congratulate the groom. Then they talked to her a little. It turned out that those two were friends since childhood. This explains why Stella behaves like that with him, as if they had known each other for a long time. Vivian already understands that it won't be easy. That girl is going straight ahead. It will be very difficult with her. Even though the bride doesn't care about this relationship, at first she should pretend that she loves him, and preferably not let anyone near her husband at all. The lady says that she understands that the girl is emotional now, that this is a very important day for her, and began to explain that she understands everything incorrectly. She is just happy for them, and believes that she can calmly talk to both her and Alex, even alone. At that moment, her father came up to her. He noticed that something was bothering her and asked what he could do for her. The girl didn't want to upset him. She just pretended that everything was fine, as if she was just nervous like any other bride at a wedding. He told her that she should remember once and for all, she should not allow anyone to hurt her. She should be happy, and if someone interferes with this, he is always ready to help her. The assistant runs up. She says that they have too little time. She is rushing her somewhere. Vivian said goodbye to her father and promised that they will definitely talk again just a little later. She thanked him for everything he does for her. The girl feels support in him, and this is priceless. Meanwhile, the ceremony had already taken place. All the guests had left, and suddenly, the girl asked Helena to bring Stella to her. She needs to have a very serious talk with her, and she told the woman that she just wants to talk to her as a friend, literally. A couple of minutes later, the girl came to her room. She asked how she could help and for some reason looked very pleased. Vivian even prepared some sweets and tea. And the girl saw cookies with nuts and said that these were her favorite sweets, which she could not find anywhere. She enjoyed the treat, even taking 2 cookies at once to enjoy them properly. It was supposed to be the first night of the newlyweds. The guy had already come out of the shower. He saw Stella and didn't quite understand what was going on here. He asks which of them decided to ruin the beautiful moment, and the wife says that it was she who called her, because she's not going to spend the night with a man who's interested in talking to other girls besides her. Even though these two had nothing yet, having returned to the past, she already knows that they have an interest in each other, and very soon it will grow into something more. The guy asks why she married him then if she doesn't trust him so much, and she remains silent. Instead of explaining anything, she suggested that they spend the night together, no matter how strange it sounded coming from her. Out of the blue, Stella starts crying. She acted like she was really sorry that, because of her, the girl had such thoughts. I say she didn't mean anything like that and didn't want to separate them. She apologizes and says that, although her husband is very handsome, she is not the kind of girl who could be interested in someone else's husband. Vivian just knows that she is just like that. She can say it with confidence, and it seems that a serious conflict is brewing. The guy doesn't understand how to react. He's never seen his girlfriend the way she became right after the ceremony. It's still very difficult to understand her train of thought. She could have taken revenge on them without marrying him, but this way, it all turns out too risky. There's nothing stopping them from leaving her here alone now. But Alex is still trying to talk about something, not even realizing that it's pointless. The situation is heating up with each of them. Only she controls everything. The main thing is that she does not regret that she started everything exactly like this. And then a question arises that he never expected when he planned to make Stella his mistress. He asks what he's talking about and why she thought he was interested in anyone other than her, especially since the ceremony just ended a couple of hours ago. Stella could say something now, but she remains silent and just waits for Alex to do it. Vivian is very serious now. It's as if she's trying to get him to admit right now that she's right, and he married her only for the throne, but not for love. The guy doesn't know how to talk to her now. He thought that this evening would be pleasant, but everything turned out the opposite. He asks how she imagines it, reminds her of how much she has done for him, as if hinting that she is wrong and he could not do this to her. And here the most interesting part begins. She again offers them to become lovers, repeating her previous mistake. And here, Stella showed her true face. She was happy, but she had just said that it was impossible and she would not have done that. The husband asks if she even understands what she's saying, but the girl does. He denies it until the very end, but inside he is glad that she suggested it herself. Vivian asked him not to pretend that he was upset by everything that was happening here, because it was immediately obvious that this was what he needed. At some point, the girl simply got tired of persuading them. She asked both him and her to leave here so that they could finally be alone. Stella immediately took his hand with a smile, suggested spending the night together, and he felt so awkward that his voice even trembled. Just in case, his wife warned them not to let anyone see them so that there would be no questions for her later. It's very good that she no longer has any feelings for this person. She calmly looks at this couple, but is not sad. On the contrary, everything is going according to plan. If it were up to her, she would destroy them right here and now, in this room. But now there is no need for extra sounds. Everything must be done carefully and quietly. Over time, she will laugh at them the way the Steely in the tower laughed at her. Instead of lying down to rest, the girl went outside and tried to do it in such a way that no one would notice her. Lucky that her father's house was not far away. She came to his estate, apologized to the assistant that she would not be able to talk for long, and immediately asked where she could find her father. They communicate very well. He has been working for the Duke for many years and has known the lady since she could not walk. Alfred said that her father was still in his office. He was staying there late today and couldn't go to rest. She asked him to take her there because she had already forgotten a little about where things were. Here they are, already there. They knocked on the door, and the Duke didn't even immediately realize that it was his daughter in front of him. He didn't expect to see her here. When he realized that since she was here, she had some problems. He became worried, but she warned him that everything was not as bad as he thought. As expected, he offered her tea. He doesn't even know what she came to tell him, but he's sure it's about Alex. She is very pleased that she was greeted like this. Despite the late visit and her father's terribly hard workday, the man says that he felt it. He didn't leave the office, and she laughed. Although now there is no time for laughter. Before she starts talking to him, he has always said that no matter what happens, he will always be on her side. For her to be happy, even if he's not around, he is ready to do anything. Work all day long, deal with her enemies, support her, do everything that a father should do. He already replaces 2 parents for her, for which she is incredibly grateful to him. If it weren't for him, she doesn't even know what would have happened to her. They themselves did not notice how they began to discuss the dowry that their father had prepared, and it was far from small. Although Vivian did not want to talk about this, she still supported the conversation. Diamonds, huge sums of money. It seems to him that this is still not enough, and to this day he works to ensure that she gets much more. But Vivian did not demand even this from him. She will never cease to be amazed at how much her father has. He achieved it himself and she is proud of it. Her father never told her this, but this moment came. He confessed that he had to work from a very early age. He was left without parents and refused to live in poverty. And this is what happened to him. He is a respected duke who owns a fortune that his great-grandchildren will enjoy. Then they finally got back to the main thing. Vivian told him everything she knew about Alex, and if he helps her, it would be great. And meanwhile, in the imperial palace, no one is sleeping either. Those two, for the sake of decency, did not even go to different rooms. They are still together. They are trying to figure out his wife's behavior because they feel that things are not as easy as they may seem. There are no such kind people in the world who allow their other half to spend time with lovers, especially on the first night after the ceremony. Stella doesn't care what she has in mind, but the guy is worried about his reputation. For him, it's all too suspicious. The girl suggests that he relax, not think about anything, especially since Vivian herself will be to blame. It was her decision. He suggests taking their time first, seeing what she has in mind, and then relaxing. He thinks that would be more correct. Stella realized that he was not so easy to persuade. She began to manipulate, sat on the bed and was already talking with hints that he was losing a lot. It is very difficult for him to make the right decision. On the one hand, he is not against spending time with her, but on the other hand, he is afraid that he will regret it later. In that case, she promised him that no one would find out about it. Everything would go quietly and unnoticed, especially since everyone was already asleep and no one would break into this room without permission. Even if people hear something, they will think that it is him with his wife, and no one will think that he is here with his mistress. She managed to persuade him very easily. It took only a few seconds. He resisted very weakly. He just thought that if his wife asked him about it herself, then she herself would be to blame later if there were any problems. The next day came. From that day on, throughout the week, a festival would be held in honor of the marriage of the Emperor and Empress. The celebration begins with the Emperor and Empress receiving their first official greetings, although this is merely a formal occasion for exchanging pleasantries and observing each other. The financial crisis in the empire was severe due to the rebellion of the crown prince. State affairs were divided, so there was no better opportunity to restore relations with the nobles and foreign delegations. Whether it's good or not doesn't concern her anymore. She only cares about those two people who have to pay for everything. The first man approached them. He greeted the one and only moon and sun of the empire. That's what he called Alex and Vivian. His Majesty replied that he was very pleased to meet you, and then asked where the man's duchy was located. If he is not mistaken, then it should be somewhere on the seashore in the port area. He says that he has long wanted to visit this place, and that the man replied that he would always be welcome there, and he was pleased to hear it. His wife looked at him. She felt what a hypocritical person he was. It was impossible to listen to him anymore. And also, she's not sure if Alex said what was possible. The port owned by the Duke is a place visited by many foreign ships. Thanks to this, the Duke accumulated a huge wealth. But it was a secret because he did not pay taxes. She doesn't understand how anyone can seriously think that it's just an ordinary resort, but that doesn't matter anymore. Very soon she won't think about what her husband says. Now she doesn't care about him in any sense. She didn't even pay attention to what they were talking about. She just sat in her place and waited for it all to end. For the sake of decency, she said a few more words to him. She thought that it would be rude to remain silent, but that was right. Says that he is pleased to hear all this, that they know how things are going for him, but warned that he came here just to say hello and is not going to beg for help as many do. When everyone had already greeted each other, people began to have fun, relax. Everything was still very quiet and calm. Pleasant music is playing. Many have already made new acquaintances, and some came just for this. Vivian and Alex try to be together. They smile, but inside this smile hides complete hostility towards each other. Even now he can't do without Stella. She volunteered to hold the guy's cape. She doesn't leave him for a second. She is waiting for them to finally be alone, trying not to attract unnecessary attention to herself. But from the outside, everything is still visible. Some ladies have already begun to notice that the girl looks at the Emperor more often than his wife. She smiles as if she thinks that soon she will be in Vivian's place, and if no one and nothing interferes with her, it will happen very soon. The ladies clearly suspected something. They whisper, and don't even hide it. They look straight into her eyes. Alex came to the center of the hall again. He thanked everyone who came and said that it was very nice for him. At some point, the guy started asking his wife to dance. She didn't expect that from him, and of course, she wasn't interested. The girl didn't even have time to answer anything, as Stella ran up to them and said that he would rather dance with her, as if she didn't care that everyone was looking at them. He immediately felt very awkward, and Vivian thought that maybe they shouldn't interfere. It would be better if people saw everything with their own eyes and it wouldn't be on her conscience. Alex says that he is now the center of attention. Everyone may have questions about why he is not dancing with his wife, and the girl says that it doesn't matter, so the choice is his. Vivian deliberately stepped aside. She understands that everyone is looking at them and also hinted that they can do whatever they want. The guests are completely bewildered. They are watching as if some kind of performance, so much so that there is complete silence in the hall. After the Emperor's wife left, Stella became very happy. She was only glad that everyone was watching her. She boldly approaches Alex and he is completely confused. He does not know how this will all end. He is very awkward and ashamed. Stella asks him not to think about others, to think only about himself and what he likes. He tells her that it is very easy to say, but in reality, after all this, there may be trouble. He will be. That people will start to approach him and ask him directly how to understand this, why he is not with his wife, but with some other girl. While Vivian has already left, they are dancing in the center of the hall and everyone else is standing in a circle and gossiping. He thought that he had nothing to lose anyway. He even started to smile, and Vivian was already leaving here and smiling too. She is sure that she did everything right. This is just the beginning, and what will happen next is simply impossible to predict. Some time passed. He comes to her and starts asking what just happened. All the people are in another room and they went away to talk. The girl is sitting here as if she was waiting and knew that they would come. She asks how they danced, but there is not a drop of offense on her face. On the contrary, she even smiles. Alex explains to her that she set him up, now there will be a lot of rumors and he has no idea how to explain everything. Only Stella is grateful to her for such an opportunity. Vivian is not sad either, and only Alex didn't like something. The girl tells him that he so easily agreed to be with his mistress, and she doesn't understand what was so bad about one dance. After that, she asked if he could really be so brave in front of her, but he couldn't dance with another girl in front of people. She even said that they looked very good and would look good as husband and wife. At this moment, Stella tries to calm him down, but he does not allow her to touch him anymore. Apparently, he became ashamed and afraid of the consequences. Alex really hurt Stella, and Vivian is only happy to watch him ruin his relationship with two girls at the same time. Then she reminded him that, in fact, no one forced him to dance with anyone except her. He could catch up with her and not even pay attention to Stella. And also, the mistress herself is to blame. She insisted and persuaded him to dance, so all questions are to her. Alex was very angry. He perceived her action as a trap, but he had the right. He had a choice, and he did what he did. He should have thought earlier about how it would look from the outside. After that, he couldn't hold back. Went somewhere and left them alone. Stella pretends as if nothing happened. She also wanted to leave, but before that, she will have to say something. She understands that Vivian is most likely up to something, but she doesn't yet know what her goal is and why she's doing all this. At some point, she felt a very unpleasant energy that she immediately wanted to say goodbye and go somewhere. Vivian didn't call anyone, but the ladies from that hall and several servants came up to her to ask how she was feeling and what had just happened. They apologized if they disturbed her and if she is not in the mood for it, but they want to hear at least a few words. After all, it's very important. It's unlikely that Alex will tell them anything, so they came to her. She is not in the mood for it now. She promised that she will definitely tell about everything, just a little later. They all stayed anyway because they know how difficult it is for me now, and I would like to have someone nearby. They ask if she would like to have a tea party soon, to relax and gossip if she needs it. That's how she got friends, although she didn't expect it and didn't think that anyone would be interested in supporting her and being around her. She had never interacted with these people before, and they were so nice that she even felt embarrassed that she hadn't said hello to them much at the beginning of today. If this were the first time and she didn't have a plan, maybe she would gossip with them and discuss her husband for hours, but she has something to hide and it's not time to share it with anyone. It will be better if no one knows about this, how she will quietly finish it and do what she wanted. A couple of hours passed. She came to some strange place, but clearly no one was waiting for her there. The guy was having lunch peacefully, and she disturbed him. She apologized if it was not on time. He didn't answer, and because of this, she felt even more awkward. And then she starts offering him everything he needs: money, a place to sleep, clothes, food, and everything else he needs. The guy doesn't understand what's going on. She just came and started offering him all this, without even explaining what he would have to give or do for it. She told him that she could help him, and only now he realized that if she herself offers it to him, then he doesn't care what she wants for it. It is not yet clear what is going on. She is too secretive and even tells little to the people she offers to collaborate with. The guy agreed without knowing what for. He already regretted that he did it. But when he understands for money, it becomes a little easier. Meanwhile, the next day came. They gathered around a huge table, it seemed, or something like that for some kind of meeting. Alex asks everyone to say some sentences, but he himself says nothing. As usual, he dumps it on others. Vivian immediately took the opportunity. She went off topic and asked, how about him taking the Viscount's daughter as a concubine? She thought he might be interested in that. The girl even smiled as if she had deliberately decided to ruin the atmosphere and anger him in front of everyone. But that's not all, she continued, and said that it seems that everyone already knows the truth, so it's better to admit it officially and maintain dignity. At this moment, this man was the most tense. The girl's father assumed that they had some problems in their relationship, but he didn't think it was so bad that she would talk about it so boldly. One guy suggested changing the topic because now there is something more important, and she says that since she said it first, she needs to finish it. The second person asked what this had to do with why they were there, and she replied that if she asked about it, then it needed to be discussed. She does it with such ease that it is clear that she has come to terms with it and that she could break up with him right now. Only she herself will regret it less than her husband. But it seems that all these people are on his side. They didn't even hide it. The guy starts hinting that she shouldn't have brought it up because they could have discussed it in private, but now a lot of people will find out about it. Only now did he realize that she was deliberately putting him in an awkward position so that he would have to deal with all this himself later. While there is already a conflict there, Stella already imagines herself in the role of Empress. She is delighted that those two are arguing and the wife herself is arranging it. She even started to treat her well and tells the maid that Vivian is not as bad as she thought of her before. The woman doesn't recognize this girl. She used to always walk around sad, but now she smiles like a child who was promised a mountain of ice cream. The assistant advised not to talk about it with others because rumors might start. But she doesn't know yet that rumors already exist, and Mrs. Vivian herself does a lot for this. They discussed this topic a little. The girl admitted that she was very glad that everything was happening this way, but something inside her was alarming, because nothing is that easy. She's afraid that Alex's wife is smarter than she thought, and in the end she'll be the only one laughing. In the end, they agreed that they would tell each other everything they learned from that moment on. She doesn't want to be laughed at later, and at the very least she already has an excuse that Vivian herself offers her husband to be with his mistress. She promised that sooner or later she would become an empress, and if necessary she would fight with Alex's wife, but she would get hers. The woman has no idea how it will all end. She has never heard or seen anything like this. All she can do is watch what is happening, like a TV series. To begin with, she thought of assembling something like a team, approach these girls, but they immediately warned that from that day on they were on Vivian's side, and they could not be lured away. They became friends with her. They will support her and help her. So Stella was a little mistaken about them. The girl begins to understand that it is not as easy as she thought. Everyone has gone over to the good side, and in order to find those who will support her, she needs to try very hard. She had already started to say that she couldn't be stopped, when suddenly Vivian came up and asked what exactly. Stella immediately started smiling, pretended as if nothing had happened, but she didn't think that Vivian's new friends would soon tell everything. The girl feels so confident. She even likes this game, hidden and open at the same time. And then the mistress says that she wants to tell her something. Namely that since she is officially her husband's mistress, this means that she too should be treated with respect, just like the Empress. It sounded so funny that Vivian held back. She asked her not to tell anyone so as not to embarrass herself even more. Stella doesn't have the best reputation anyway, and with phrases like these, she just ruins it more and more without even realizing it. To at least take her mind off all these problems, she met her father the next day and came to him in a carriage. And since he was always glad to see her, she was not afraid to come unannounced. The girl told him about it literally half an hour before. He immediately quit all his work because his daughter is the most important thing to him. He asks how she is doing, although he himself understands that since she is here, there are enough problems because usually people don't leave the good life. There had never been a case when she came just like that, but lately she had been coming too often and he immediately understood everything. She tells him that he himself understands who the conversation will be about. The man began hinting to his assistants that everyone should disperse, because it would be better if what happens here is seen by as few people as possible. A young guy approached them. At first, he seemed very familiar to her, but she didn't recognize him right away. Taking a closer look, she begins to understand that this is really the same person to whom she offered money for cooperation. He greeted her, and she just can't take her eyes off him. He's become so handsome that she wants to look at him for a very long time. She didn't even think that he had such manners. They cut his hair, dressed him, fed him. Now you just don't recognize him. Everything was fine until one moment when he started to adjust his clothes. They were very unusual for him and pinched everywhere. He could only hold on for a couple of minutes, but now he wants to rip off this terrible tie that he didn't like from the start. They laughed at him a little. They themselves understand perfectly well how sometimes it is uncomfortable in such clothes, but nothing can be done. The girl told him that he looks much more handsome in such clothes. It suits him very well. He just needs to get used to it. She understands that after he always wore a stretched-out t-shirt, putting on a tight suit is quite a challenge. But more on that later. She still came to her father. He is watching this guy very closely. Apparently, his estate is the place she promised him as a home and all the necessary amenities. It so happened that the man began to distance himself from them. It was as if he was watching from the outside and trying to understand what she was up to again and why she needed this man. He's like a copy of her husband. Vivian even asked to cut his hair the same way. And in the meantime, they had already entered the house. The assistants brought sweets, tea, and the guy stayed with them. Even though he's been here for a few days, he still reacts to food as if it's the last thing he'll be given. He especially loves sweets. Sitting down at the table, the guy began to smile. He still does not know how to control his emotions, and he will have to work on this. Although why and what he is doing here at all is still unclear. He starts eating this cookie and doesn't even look around. And the conversation hasn't even started. And the man looks as if he's waiting for an explanation from his daughter. He himself still doesn't understand why she asked him to shelter this man. And now, finally, she told him. His name is Chris. He is a very smart man from the academy. Everything is clear about the name, but about the academy, it seems that this is not true. She started saying something like, he was some kind of dark wolf, and a lot more. And when he realized that she was talking about him, he even choked. He felt too awkward. You can see it very clearly on his face, but she continues to tell the story as if nothing had happened. The man says that it is all very interesting, although what he heard and what he sees in front of him are not quite connected. He tried to take her word for it, although he doubts very much that we are being completely honest. Now only one thing is clear, that no one understands anything except her. And the girl also starts saying that Chris is better than Alex, as if hinting that he will be a better husband than him. The guy is completely confused. He was not ready for this. And she did not warn him about anything like this, apparently on purpose. If he found out about it right away, he would hardly agree, but now he has no choice. He will have to do that. That all this is true, although they hadn't agreed on this. For some reason, the guy started talking about relationships, so to speak, quickly got into character. After that, he whispered to her. If everything was okay, she replied that it was even better than it could have been. Meanwhile, the girl's father doesn't even know how to react. They directly hint to him that Alex is in the background. Even though they don't even act like they're dating, it all feels a little unreal. Chris realized that he needed to move in this direction. He pretended that he was tired of them hiding and suggested that she sort things out with her husband as soon as possible. She says that Alex has already done enough bad things for her to do this, but before that he needs to suffer a lot. And that's exactly what she's doing. At some point, she felt uneasy that her father was silent. Usually he supports her no matter what, but now it was as if he wasn't there. It seems to her that he is unhappy with something. Usually when he behaved like that, he almost always then talked to her seriously and said that she was doing something wrong. This happens very rarely, but it does happen, and his behavior already makes her very wary. Only at that moment, when the man suggested changing the subject, the girl realized that that was it. He clearly didn't like something. They would discuss everything again later. He would definitely dissuade her, say that it was wrong. She was already all red, didn't know what to say, and Chris was also completely out of it, embarrassed and regretted that he started talking. He thinks it would be better if he didn't disturb them, but now he really suggests changing the subject. After all, now is not the time. But sad, it's better to have a good time. And Vivian doesn't know whether to say something, to be silent, to smile. She just wants to be alone with her father and not wait for the moment when he says everything he doesn't like. They changed the topic, but not radically. The father began to ask about Stella, with whom Alex's friends often see him. At that moment, she felt hot, bad and awkward at the same time. If she talks about it now, the conversation will last until the night, and it is unknown what will come of it. Just in case, she asked the guy to keep quiet because if he said anything else unnecessary, she wouldn't survive it. He thought that he had the right to talk to everyone as equals. Said that, in his opinion, since Alex doesn't even hide the fact that he has a mistress, her father has the right to know about it. He started telling how they danced at the ball while his wife was in the next room. And this was something the man found interesting to hear. Now he understands who Stella is, how Chris came into his daughter's life and what he is doing here. The girl looked at him with a very pleased look, and he was so embarrassed that he almost choked on his cookie. And in the meantime, Stella is already unhappy that everyone already knows that they are lovers. And he continues to hide, running after his wife. She thinks that if this is the case, then it is necessary to announce to everyone that he has another girlfriend. He is breaking up with his wife and Stella will soon take her place. He explains to her that everything is not as simple as she thinks. If he does so, his reputation will be ruined. He did a lot to get this place, and he didn't want to ruin everything with one action. Moreover, people may start to hate him, because no one wants to see a person who is unstable in his own personal life in the place of the emperor. She tries to explain to him that this is life. People will understand him, and everything will not be as bad as he imagines. He realized that there was no point in talking to her. He needed to decide everything himself. But it was still unclear what he wanted to achieve, to improve things with his wife, or to make sure that he wouldn't be hated for his mistress and to stay with her. To begin with, the guy asked her not to interfere in this matter. In the near future, they need to appear less together in public places and she doesn't like it anymore. He promises that everything will definitely work out for them, they just need time, but he has much less of it than he thinks. Alex is so confused that he doesn't know what's better, to do something or to do nothing at all. At the same time, there is no support from her. He is already thinking that this is her minus, and she will behave the same way in the following situations. Stella doesn't try to understand him. She only cares about her own interests, and this is very noticeable from the outside. Meanwhile, Alex organized another event. All the same people gathered, absolutely everyone came, without exception, whom he invited. Probably they are just interested in watching the continuation of everything that they saw last time. Now all their conversations are only about this, and when the mistress appeared in the hall, she immediately saw hundreds of glances on herself. This time the aristocrats are not as calm as they were then. They are in anticipation of what interesting things will happen today. Some even approached her specifically to ask who Stella came with today, but she immediately understood what the question was about. She didn't have time to answer before the Empress appeared. She eclipsed her husband's mistress and is sure that today the majority is on her side. You can immediately see who feels confident and who is watching from the side. At that moment, her husband comes up to her. He hadn't even seen his mistress and immediately came up to her. Apparently, he wants to fix everything. She addresses him too formally, as His Majesty, and he doesn't like it. After all, they are husband and wife, and for now, she can talk to him however she wants. This time, he also decided to ask her to dance, but the girl refrained from telling him how funny it was. The guy either doesn't understand anything or wants to make her feel hurt again, although he won't succeed. It turns out that when they confessed their love to each other, they didn't exchange rings, they shared gloves. This was necessary so that they would not touch anything dirty, so that they would not shake hands with deceivers, so that they would never let go of each other's hands, no matter what happened. Then she thought that such love would last forever. But now she was surprised how she remembered it when it was already too late. Vivian asked him what all this circus was about. No one was stopping him from dancing freely with Stella. She was just nearby. To which he replied that he wanted to dance with her now. And then the girl couldn't hold back any longer. She admitted that he was bad at pretending to be harmless and advised him not to pretend anymore. She is very interested in when he traded his mistress for her. Yesterday, he very quickly agreed to dance with Stella and allowed his wife to go to another room. And today, he acts as if nothing happened. She presented that situation as a test that he failed, but there was nothing complicated about it. He should have understood that in front of guests, he should at least try to be only with his wife and no one else. He already realized how he screwed up. He felt very ashamed. Everything was so easy and he himself ruined everything in one evening. She looks at him and wonders if he will insist further, although she understands perfectly well that he wants to be safe in his relationship with Stella, and now with his wife only, in order not to make even more mistakes. The girl tells him that he can go to his mistress. There is nothing wrong with that. Moreover, it will not be something new. He starts asking why she lets him go so easily, to which she replies that it's not about who lets whom go, that's just about trust, but about who agrees to it and how quickly. Last time, when she didn't have to wait even a couple of seconds for him to take his mistress's hand, Vivian understood everything. So now when he asks such strange questions, he doesn't have enough words to describe how she feels inside. It is not he who should ask her such questions, but she. Unlike how it was that day, now it will be better if he really leaves and communicates with anyone, but not with her. To at least slightly correct the situation, he could say that he was overly worried then. Did not understand what was happening, but he said that he could leave, only it would be on her conscience. He didn't resist for long. She knew that this would happen. It was too expected. She didn't expect anything else. After that, he asks if she understands where all this is leading, how it could all end. Because if she moves away from him, then she won't be able to get closer. He thought he would scare her off with this phrase, but Vivian didn't even blink an eye. She replied that the main thing was that he understood it. Alex has never heard this from her before. He doesn't even know what to answer. She talks as if she's not afraid of anything. In the end, he walked away from her, even looked back. So suspicious did her behavior seem to him. All this time, while they were standing together, Stella was watching them and was no longer delighted that he never approached her. So far, everything looks like she's got everything going according to plan. Everyone around her is sad, and only she feels great. People don't understand how she, being a wife, can so easily let her husband go to his mistress, and she even insists on it herself. She has thought it all out so well that most people are on her side, and if necessary, she can even use it to her advantage. At that moment, the girl thought that she needed to think about something else. Her husband had just left, and for now, no one would bother her. Vivian was just thinking about this when Helena came up to her and asked what she could do to stop the lady from getting upset about Alex. The girl replied that she was fine, even too fine. She asked to believe her because it really was so. Let it be very difficult for others to understand, but she cannot tell her more, although she is not obliged to. Meanwhile, Vivian somehow found out about the Devil's Refuge. She came to this place, but not just through the door. At that moment, when some guy was sitting and relaxing on the roof, admiring the stars, someone started knocking on the door through which you can get here. At first, he didn't understand what it was. At first, he didn't even pay attention, but then he turned his head, and there was already a girl nearby. Only he didn't understand how she could get here, and also, she called him by his name, Lyle, as if they knew each other. They didn't agree to meet here. He has no idea what she's doing here and what she wants from him. He wanted to ask her who she was, but he couldn't. He lost the ability to speak. It's just that this is the place where he definitely didn't expect to see anyone, especially an unfamiliar girl. Then he came to his senses, decided to introduce himself, told her that he was a devil magician, and asked what brought her here. Instead, she asked him what he was doing on the roof, and he replied that his sister had become another guy's woman and how she thought he should react to that. And then the guy realizes that this is his sister. He didn't recognize her because of this outfit, and it was dark outside, so it was difficult to see her face. She started telling him that firstly, this was her personal life, and secondly, she didn't come here for nothing. Vivian didn't immediately burden him with requests. She began to enjoy the gorgeous view and asked how he was doing. He told her that he couldn't find a place for himself all day. Something was really bothering him, and he couldn't do anything about it. And after that, he asked her not to waste time. She intrigued him, and he was very interested to know what she needed. Vivian only said that her husband betrayed her, and her brother immediately understood everything. He is not going to stand aside. He asked to tell everything in detail, and she pretended that she didn't really want to discuss it now and promised to talk about it another day. Lyle understands her very well, but still, it really wouldn't hurt for him to know more information to understand how cruelly he can treat that person. She told him that she herself was already ruining his reputation every day. More and more people were seeing him with his mistress. They saw it, but they didn't fully understand where it was all heading. Now she just needs help from the outside because if she does it, her husband will immediately understand it and start doing the same thing. The magician didn't really hear her wishes, but he already promises that everything will be done in the best possible way. And now he became interested to know what she was going to do after she took revenge on her husband. She replied that in any case, she would not be with this man, and if she succeeded, she would try to take the throne from him and not allow him to remain the emperor alone. After that, she started to cry a lot. Apparently, all this was putting so much pressure on her that she couldn't hold on anymore. Of course, he tried to support her, reminded her that they were already a team and soon everyone would definitely get what they deserved. He won't let her cry a lot because of some guys who don't appreciate her and don't love her. He understands that if she cried because of something serious, but as it is, Alex doesn't even deserve her attention. Lyle decided to go somewhere with her. They went down to the first floor. There are a lot of people here. Vivian is a little embarrassed because she doesn't understand what he has in mind. At the most inopportune moment, one of these people asks why she didn't come with her husband, and Vivian barely holds back from crying again. Previously, it was very easy for her to talk about this topic, but now any mention of her husband causes too many emotions that put pressure on her. She said that they had a little argument and also asked him not to talk to her about it. Otherwise, she simply wouldn't be able to stand it. After that, the brothers said that they would all join forces, and a little later, he would explain to the assistant what to do. She thanked him for this and said that it would be very nice. At first, she didn't think that her brother would listen to her at all. He already had a lot of other things to do, and in the end, he even reinforced their team with other assistants. Finally, he asked everyone to side with the girl, not to help and not to tell anything that they learned to Alex. From that moment on, they are all against him and for justice. A little time passed. Despite the time, they came to her father's mansion to discuss something. Lyle started talking. He asked to take everything that they were going to discuss as seriously as possible. Otherwise, there would be no point in this conversation after all. It concerns his daughter. The man is not surprised. His daughter has never come to him just like that. He was already ready to help her, but he doesn't know yet what exactly. It seems to him that new problems have appeared, but they are still the same. The girl starts hinting that, as usual, Alex doesn't give her any peace, and she has already found a whole team, but all she lacks is his support. It is very important for her to know that he supports her, understands why she does this. He knows her as the sweetest daughter who never holds a grudge against anyone. But this situation is special. And then Chris comes in. The girl immediately recognized him. She became interested in what he had learned during this time. A couple of days passed, and he was probably taught something. The Duke called him to talk to them. The guy would be glad to help and asks what is required of him. He was asked to just be there. The first thing he did was go up to Vivian and ask why she came to him so rarely. The girl replied that he had a lot of problems right now, and Lyle also said that he, Chris, could also join them. Because how quickly it all ends will determine how often Vivian will see all of them for no reason. It didn't take a couple of minutes before the two had a fight, and Lyle started demanding that they only talk about business, without all the niceties. Chris didn't like it right away. He doesn't see the girl that often, and doesn't understand how a stranger can forbid him anything. Vivian asked them to calm down. She reminded them why they had gathered there, and also admitted that she was very pleased that they were only paying attention to her. Then she was surprised how the two shook hands. They just hated each other, and most likely it was nothing more than acting so that she wouldn't worry. In fact, nothing changed. They just did it by force so that she would think that everything was okay. The magician even deliberately passed energy through his hand, which worked like electricity, but the guy didn't show it. It was terribly unpleasant, but he learned a lot, including how to control his emotions and behavior. Lyle got a little angry when he saw that the guy didn't care. He wasted his power, which is very hard to accumulate. Meanwhile, the next day has come. The weather is beautiful outside, but unfortunately, due to the background anxiety, no one notices it. The girl is already getting into the carriage. All her father's servants and he himself are seeing her off. They wish her all the best, and she wished them the same. Father says that he is waiting for her at any time and any day. It was very nice. She answered him that she hopes that next time he will come without a reason, just to talk about nothing. Chris asked her to promise that she would return soon, to which she replied that, unfortunately, she could not promise anything. But in any case, she would try not to offend anyone. The guy is just beaming. The smile never leaves his face. Everyone can see how much he misses her and how happy he is when she's around. Meanwhile, Lyle asked her to go back to the palace first because there was something important to go to. Chris at first didn't understand why this man stays with them, sends the girl alone, but he just didn't know that Lyle is a mage and he can teleport anywhere. For example, now he needed to appear in the Palace of Spirits. Here, he has a couple of things to do. Meanwhile, in the Imperial Palace, everything is as usual. Alex is unknown where. Stella has not been seen for a long time. Helen met the lady and said that nothing interesting happened during the time she was gone. The assistant has already offered her a hot bath, something to eat, but unfortunately, now is not the time. She is very grateful that Helen is so attentive and caring, but there is simply no time for all this. Out of the blue, Lyle shows up at the palace. He didn't say he was coming, but Vivian is always happy to see him, so there's no problem. Helen thought that she had been there too long and had not had time to check that guests had arrived, but the lady calmed her down in time and explained everything. This is a person who can appear even in the middle of a room, and he does not necessarily have to enter through the main entrance. This time, the guy didn't just come. He had bad news. Somehow Alex found out that they were grouping against him and attacked their assistants. Vivian can't believe her eyes. Usually her husband never noticed such moments, but now he apparently realized that not everything is so simple and someone is planning something against him. She decides not to wait long, asks everyone to follow her. They need to leave urgently and save those who can still be saved. She didn't want anyone to suffer because of her. And knowing her husband, he can be too cruel, even to those he mistakenly suspects of something. Lyle thinks that it is not necessary, but the girl will not calm down until she helps those people who are now in danger. Helena asks the lady to calm down first because she is currently emotional and may act unreasonably. You need to take into account your husband's character after all. She knows him better than anyone else and should know his weak points. Here, they are all already on their way. She is grateful to everyone who went with her on this mission, because she certainly would not have managed it on her own, but now she feels very confident. She jumped off her horse and immediately recognized one person. It was Alex's assistant, who was no different from his master. She doesn't like him much, but first she asked what was going on here and what right they had to detain these people. Replied that they were merely performing their official duties. They had received information confirming the meeting of traitors to eliminate the threat to their master. She orders them to stop and return back to the palace as the Empress and the wife of the one who sent them here. The assistant replied that only the one who gave the order could cancel it, and with all due respect. But he was forced to ignore her words. Without thinking, she hit him on the cheek. She did it with all her strength because she knows that he won't be able to answer her even if he wants to. Besides, she has many assistants here who can stand up for her, and they are also much stronger. She asks them, since when did the Imperial Guard become a squad of villains who, without understanding the situation, can attack people? Moreover, they have no evidence that these people wanted to harm His Majesty, and the fact that he himself said so does not mean anything. The guy looked at the dead. He felt ashamed for a moment, but then he replied that an order was an order, and he was in no position to ignore the Emperor. If he had refused to do what he was ordered to do, he would have been in the place of these people. So he did it. He tries to be as polite as possible with her, but he couldn't help but say that she should talk to her husband personally, because they are just assistants who were doing what they were supposed to do. A couple of minutes later, the whole squad left, and she looked at the dead and still can't believe that they could all be alive. She doesn't even understand what her mistake was. Maybe she should have kept everything a secret. Although how the information slipped to Alex is also unclear. Even though it hurts her to watch all this, she still approaches them to mentally apologize and say goodbye. She is very sorry that because of her, the lives of these people ended on this day, and now she will blame herself for this for the rest of her life. But the girl was once again convinced that her husband is a real tyrant and he is ready to do anything, even if he has to sacrifice the lives of other people. Her whole body is shaking. She hates Alex more and more with every second, because if he was even a little kinder, everything would be different. A very ambiguous situation on the one hand. It wasn't she who destroyed these people, but it's not they who feel guilty, but Vivian. It started raining heavily outside, but even after that she couldn't leave here. And she wants to be there at least as a sign of respect. Unlike some, at least she has a conscience. It would be wrong to leave these guys here. Let's wait and go to a warm house as if nothing had happened. Now only one thing is clear. Her desire to take revenge on her husband has only increased. He is digging a hole for himself and adding fuel to the fire of her hatred. If only he knew what he would have to pay for it, he would never have done it. But now he will answer for every soul that has left this world. Meanwhile, they returned to the estate. It is safe to be here. The magician will arrive soon and learn the terrible news. The girl doesn't even know how to tell him about it, because it's hard to even think about it. She needs time to calm down, and Lyle is already here and doesn't even know what she wants to tell him. The bad news is not only that they lost a lot of people, but also that Alex already suspects that there is a whole team against him. Now they will have to be even more careful. Think about the safety of each of them first and foremost, even if it takes a lot of time. And also, she can't find the words to apologize for this situation. After all, if she hadn't come to him for help, none of them would have suffered. And then one of them says that it's all normal. They all work here and understand that this can happen to anyone. And in his personal opinion, it's called fate. So they decided to support her so that she wouldn't blame herself for the deaths of other people. After all, their work is already dangerous and everyone came here consciously. Vivian only half agrees with this, but still, she feels very sorry for those people, and she really wants someone else to die. Lyle decided to interrupt their conversation. After all, now it is necessary to think not about what has already happened, but about what will happen next. So they came to the conclusion that now it is necessary to change the strategy. After all, Alex is already acting, and if nothing is done, something like this can happen again at any time. If he wants, he can even find this estate. And since there are children here and no one is going to lose, they should be one step ahead, just in case, so that Vivian wouldn't worry, and they didn't warn her that they would be with her until the end. He himself is personally interested in such a terrible person getting what he deserves. He is for justice and everyone else is too, which means that she will not be left alone against him. They will be together until the end. You just need to come up with a good plan. And to do this, she needs to tell about her husband's weak points, how he can be deceived, what he does best, and so on. Vivian says that she has been through so much lately and is so tired that she has no thoughts now. She needs some kind of reboot. But at the same time, the girl understands that there is no time for this. If they allow themselves to relax even for half a day, Alex will definitely take advantage of it, so they will have to work hard. She has no idea what will happen next. She thinks that they are doing something wrong, but doing nothing is also very dangerous, and for each of them. The very next day, Lyle arrived at the port of Bahachman. Here, as usual, there are a lot of people. The street is noisy, but there is something in it. There is one person here that they have to see off. The guy just met him, introduced himself, and said that he was glad to meet him. They started talking about nothing. This man's name is Mikhail. Layla didn't like him very much from the beginning, but he tries not to show it. They have already come with him to the Imperial Palace. Vivian is already waiting in the living room and is a little worried. Lyle knocked on the door. She allowed him in and began to hope that at least something good would happen today. She is so tired of constant problems that she has no strength for anything. Even now she will communicate and does not know how she will hold out until the end. The guest immediately greeted the Empress. He said that it was a great honor for him to meet her. Alex may go after the devils, but he wouldn't dare touch the merchants. He loves luxury, so he probably wants them to be on his side. Now that her husband is left without a cop in his pocket, she needs to snatch up the imperial business venture that Count Padera has his eye on. To begin with, she asked him how he assessed the Kreutz Empire. He replied that he considered it a nation with significant basic strength. It was recovering quickly despite the damage from the Civil War. In that case, she asked him if he thought luxury items like their pink salt and spices would sell well here. He replied that as far as he knew, spices and salt were not a luxury at all, but rather essential items. Vivian was very surprised because the studio cost. All this should be a luxury. In the end, the girl decided that they would start importing salt and spices and is already offering to sign a contract. The Empress and Count Padera share the same opinion, so it doesn't matter to him who he cooperates with. The assistant came. She said that one person wanted to talk to her, and she asked to call him because she was not very busy. A guy comes into the living room. He greeted Her Majesty. She thought that he could just help in concluding the contract, and she felt even calmer. It was decided that first they would work on the contract, and only then would she listen carefully to why he had come. These two people got along well right away. Vivian is very happy about this, because lately it has been very rare for everything to work out so easily and harmoniously here. The guy says that everything is very easy. You just need to approach the matter carefully and not forget anything. He will do just that. He was very surprised when he found out that they agreed on the deal very quickly, because usually it takes a few days. They started talking about what was in their best interests. They needed to agree on the most favorable terms for each. No one is going to deceive anyone. Everything should be honest, so that later no one will regret it and there will be no complaints. The guy already uses all his knowledge. He begins to correct them, explains how it would be better to act, although the girl does not understand anything, but she tries to believe him. She understands very little about this matter. She just wants no one to regret this cooperation, and for everyone to be satisfied, and she has already received everything else from her assistant. He says that everything will work out. She keeps a calm appearance, but inside she is happy that she has such good people. He even starts to talk about those moments that Vivian and her business partner didn't even know about. Since the assistant is a stranger to this man, he is afraid that something will be done now, and then it will turn into problems for him. The assistant noticed that someone was very nervous. He said some words after which the man had no doubt that everything would be fine. After all, they are working with a professional, and the girl confirmed this personally. She understands this a little more than the business partner and understands the professionalism with which he approaches the matter. She is already happy to sign everything that is needed, but even now, the assistant asks not to rush. He believes that everything needs to be read several times. Each of them, they work with a document and it is not done so quickly. Although it's just a matter of a few signatures, in reality it's much more serious. The main thing is that Alex doesn't suddenly come in at the most inopportune moment. He is just busy with his own affairs. Some assistants are already reporting to him that some people saw Vivian, but no one knows why they met. Alex is not happy with this, even though he understands that there is no way to eavesdrop on the conversation. There are his wife's people around. Most of them are on her side, and that's the biggest problem. And also, he began to see his mistress very rarely. She was seriously offended by him, and this puts a lot of pressure on the guy. He is already confused about who he should be with. He will soon go crazy from so many thoughts, and in the end he decided that he just needed to get closer to his wife so that his presence would not be something suspicious for her. Meanwhile, she had already done all her chores, was sitting quietly in her office and thought, why not get some fresh air? She started to insert her notes, and just at that moment, someone knocked on the window. The girl didn't even have time to turn in that direction, as that person immediately disappeared, as if no one was there. Vivian is sure that she definitely didn't imagine it. Someone just knocked on the window and she can't be wrong. It was so clear that the girl got up, went out onto the balcony, and there was no one there. Only a small bouquet on the floor, which was clearly left by that person's. She became curious about who it could be. She even thought about asking one of the security guards about it, although most likely that guy had made an agreement with them and promised to come back out in a couple of seconds. That's probably how it all happened. In the meantime, her assistant came to her. She told her that the emperor was waiting for her. He wanted to talk about something, and Vivian was so surprised that she didn't notice how she agreed. She said she would be there in a couple of minutes. She wanted to put the flowers in a vase with water so they wouldn't wilt or spoil. The girl came into his office, saw a lot of assistants, and didn't understand why there were so many of them there. This was supposed to be a personal conversation. She asks him why he called her. He says that it's nothing serious. He just wants to ask something about the trading company. She tensed up after these words, but managed to get out of it and didn't even get nervous. She told him that she just wanted to ask how much the prices of salt and spices had increased recently. She's been really bored lately, so she decided to ask. The guy says it's not funny. He's not going to believe it, and he's not as calm as he was a couple of minutes ago. In any case, she is not going to discuss her personal affairs with him. She pretended that she was not interested in discussing it and said what a delicious tea he prepared for her. The girl didn't have breakfast, but it would be nice to add some sweets or sandwiches. Alex realized that she was just laughing at him and wasn't going to have a serious conversation because she didn't owe him anything. Here he is already starting to grab his head. He does not have enough patience to communicate with her normally, and she specifically asks if Stella has accidentally overtired him. Supposedly, he looks too tired. Vivian is not going to be nice to him. This man betrayed her, and that is enough to answer him in kind. She said directly that if he wanted to talk to her, it could be neutral topics. But everything that concerns personal life and some business matters is only her business, which does not concern anyone. She won't even answer such questions, and if he has nothing else he wants to ask her, then she would like to say goodbye. The guy doesn't even know what to say to this. He covers his face so she can't see how uncomfortable he is, although he pretends that he is just smiling and trying to hide the smile. At some point, when he realized that she could leave at any moment, he directly said that he knew that she was hiding something from him and asked her to explain everything, as if he thought that she would really tell him this, but he knows her too little. Vivian is not as naive as he thinks, and will never be as naive and honest with him as she was before. This is no longer his wife, but a real enemy who will not allow him to live in peace after everything he has done. He had already started offering her money, something else, and the girl just laughed because her honor was worth much more than some money. Vivian made it clear that times were different. They were in a relationship, but in fact they had been strangers for a long time. She can treat anyone around her better than him, and he already notices it. The girl says that if he thinks that such conversations will make them closer, then he is very much mistaken. He can only get closer to his mistress, and he lost her the very second he traded her for Stella. Inside, the guy understands that she is absolutely right and could have hurt him much more, but he is still angry, as if it is unfair. At this point, she decided to put even more pressure on him and asked Helen to bring some document. And literally, a couple of minutes later, he was already in her hands. Alex asked in a frightened voice, "What the hell was this?" And she says that as soon as their two signatures appear here, her life will become better, brighter, calmer, and most importantly, safer. This is a divorce petition. She demands that he sign this document right now. Otherwise, As long as they are married, she will not allow him to live in peace for a single day and will make him beg for a breakup.